Okay, so this is the well-known horror author. What are you, an author, director, a writer?
Dickhead. I don't know what to call myself anymore. Let's stick with storyteller
Okay, all right.
because
Well,
I mean the films don't make money, so I can't call myself a film director.
well, once you die, they'll make money. Then it'll be a classic, and everybody's got to see it. But
Yeah, then my wife will be really rich, and I'll be dead, and she'll be happy, and
I don't know. Like it seems to me, all the famous horror authors, especially of an earlier age, like Lovecraft or Poe or something, like Poe died in the gutter. You know,
brilliant. What are you trying to wish on me here? I mean,
I don't know anything on you.
our first time talking, you're like, yeah, I spoke to Matt Shaw. He's going to die in a gutter.
That is not what I said. But all right, so let's start this out. So, what first involved you in this genre?
It was a massive mistake. I never meant to come into this genre. I know that sounds really weird to say, but I was with a psychiatrist because I was having some temper issues in my 20s.
Okay.
And they wanted me to write a journal, a day-to-day journal of my feelings. And I was like, well, that's pretty shit. So I sat down and wrote a book, which I ended up calling I'm Fine, which is all my struggles with manic depression and suicidal wants and things like that. And it sounds weird, but I had a great time writing it. And then I just had this idea for this story about a guy that takes a woman hostage in the house. And his idea is if it's just the two of them, no one else, eventually she'll love him and he'll be loved. And I wrote it. And yeah, next thing I know, I'm a horror author. And you're just like, okay. And it all took off just because I was trying to upset a publisher. I was writing a book and he called me a sick bastard. So I was like, all right, if you want a sick bastard, I'll give you a sick bastard. And I wrote 10 pages of this really fucked up horror, sent it to him, and I thought, you know what, I'm enjoying this. I'll carry on writing it. And I thought, I finished it. I might as well release it, but I'll probably get loads of backlash for it. So I'll just give it a shit black cover,
Right, right.
just name, a warning on it, the title, fuck it off out there. Straight to number one on Amazon, sold the film rights and quit working and haven't worked since. So yeah, it was an accident.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's like living the dream right there.
You
So,
see, people say that, but it's not. It's not living a dream. It's living a fucking nightmare. The moment you do something that you're really passionate about and it becomes a job, suddenly, suddenly it becomes a whole different kettle of fish.
yeah.
And you're just like, okay, I want to get off this roller coaster ride now. Now people are just hounding me all the time, and I just want to write for me, but it feels like I'm writing for other people.
Do you regret that you got so much exposure at such an early stage?
Well, it's hard because I don't have the mental capacity to stick a day job. I've had 30 jobs. Before I was 25, I had 30 different day jobs because I'd get so wound up by something stupid the manager would say. And I would just go, yeah, see ya. And I'll just walk out. So I don't think I could go back to a real job. And I don't think I would have survived carry on working a normal job. So I kind of needed to make it in the book industry. But now I'm at the crossroads where I'm desperately trying to get into other industries.
Okay, what are you trying to get into?
I really want to push the film industry. I really want to make that into something where I can stop writing books and just concentrate on writing scripts and directing films and acting in them. Um, that would be the dream, but it is really hard.
Well, I'd imagine. I don't know the industry much at all, but what crossroads and what success have you had so far on that?
Well, we started making films in 2018, and a lot of people start with making a short film. And I made a short film for shits and giggles years ago. I never looked at films again until I woke up one day and I was like, you know what, I'm going to make a feature film. And I kickstarted it, raised the money, and suddenly I'm on a film set, not knowing what the hell I'm doing. I filmed Monster. I didn't even have a shot list of what we wanted to film. I just rocked up on the day, and I was like, "Yeah, let's do this, this, and this, and this." But that started in 2018, so we've made 8 feature films since then.
Okay.
So there's a level of success there, but we're not making enough money yet. You know,
What are they available on if people want to check out your films?
Amazon, Plexi, what do you call it? Tubi.
I don't know. I just order everything off Amazon. It's super easy.
Yeah, we don't have the TUBI. We don't have that in England, so I've got no idea what it's called. And Vimeo.
Okay. Well,
But yeah, Amazon's the easiest.
if somebody wants to check it out, what would you recommend? Like, is there a starter film that you say definitely look at this one first?
If you go on Vimeo, the starter film would probably be the one we've just done called Chained, because it's pretty fucked up. We showed it at a Crypticon Film Festival a couple of months ago, and some of the reactions were pretty strong to that film. So I'm proud of it. You know, I was telling a message that kind of gets ignored in life, and I wanted to ram that message home. And I think I might have gone a little bit too far.
Well, no spoiler alerts, but what's a spoiler alert if it is a spoiler? But what's the message?
Um, this is going to sound really fucking bad for people that don't know me. Uh, okay, it's a spoiler, but sometimes in life, women are raped. Okay, and that's a terrible thing, and it shouldn't happen. Sometimes in life, women lie about it just to fuck the man over.
Right.
And that's the story I told with Chained. And yeah, it was a risky one.
It's a little bit risky. I don't know. There might be a little more opening with the whole like Johnny Depp, Amber Heard sort of thing, where people see, oh, people
Well,
can be victims. It doesn't necessarily matter what sex they are.
yeah, that's why we actually filmed Chained. You know, we stopped other film projects to concentrate on Chained because of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
Okay.
You know, say what you want about the guy. The guy, he has his demons. There is no doubt about it.
Right.
But he's never once showed the side that she was trying to portray.
Right.
Um, and he's just gone quiet with everything, and she's using this story again and again to catapult herself further into different causes and things like that. And I just find that kind of behavior disgusting.
Yeah.
Like in England, we had there's a case last year where some girls said they were gang raped by famous footballers in a hotel. Footballers lost their job, so their career's gone, and then it turned out that the women were lying. So like I say, I'm not saying that all women are lying, because it definitely, sadly, is not the case, you know. But there's two sides to every story, and we as a society, and that's what Change is trying to tell us, we should watch the whole story or listen to it first,
Right.
and then decide who's in the right and who's in the wrong. Because, you know, with Amber Heard especially, everyone jumped up and they were like, fuck Johnny Depp, he's a wife beater. And he hadn't even said his side of the story. They just instantly believed her. And I think that's unhealthy from both sides, you know, from male and female sides. We need to listen to both sides.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. My girl thought the same thing. She was like, "Oh, look at this guy," and I was like, "I don't know. He seems kind of like a eccentric artist type to me, but he doesn't seem aggressive at all."
I mean, I'm not being funny. If Johnny Depp's a wife beater, so am I, because I've shouted at my wife just as she has shouted at me, and I have punched walls before now because I'm a twat. I don't know a lot of guys who haven't lashed out at inanimate objects.
Right.
You know, men aren't good at expressing their feelings, and as long as they're lashing out,
I would never punch a girl, but I punch walls.
yeah, I've yeah, you want to punch a woman, you're like, oh my god, but you direct the anger elsewhere because you know the difference between right and wrong.
Right.
And then you wish you had punched a cushion or something because your hand hurts from the wall.
Yeah, well, that's actually totally true. All right, so what do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy writing the screenplay or directing? Do you prefer acting
Ooh.
in it? Do you draw a line between them?
I kind of enjoy the whole process with regards to films, you know. The part I guess I don't enjoy is when I finish the screenplay, I send it to my partner, Justin Park, to go through, and he fucking man, he comes back with some notes and a half, you know. He's like, I don't like this, I don't like this, that's all right. Don't like this, sort that, that's a mess. And it was just like, I just want to finish writing it. I don't care, it's finished. Don't make me write it again.
You really need a little bit of feedback, and it's kind of like take it or leave it by whatever you think helps the story.
He everything he says, I mean, yes, sometimes we disagree on things, but everything he says is very valid and strengthens the story, so I have to listen to him. It's just heartbreaking.
No, I know, like I know from my own writing career, there's stuff that you're like, that's such a great idea. I was like, but it doesn't fit in the story. But it's such a great, so you like try and make up like mental gymnasiums where you try and work out how you could possibly get in, but you're like, but it really can't go.
Yeah, been there, done that. Or recently you think of a story that you think is a really good idea, release it to your Facebook page, and suddenly you find yourself public enemy number one, which is what happened last week. And I'm still fighting backlash from that. And I'm like, for fuck's sake, why?
Well, some
Just
people
going,
are haters, you know, like no matter
yeah,
what you do, it's like this fucking guy, and really they're mad with themselves, so they take it out on you.
yeah. Well, it's just depressing. All you're trying to do is you know, I don't know if you saw it on Facebook last week, but I announced a book, Roe versus Wade,
Right. I saw
and it's
that you
coming out.
announced that book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming out in September, and man, I got some shit for that. And I'm like, how do you know what the story's about? You're presuming you know that I've been really disrespectful here,
Right.
but I haven't. I'm just using my platform to raise awareness to a shitty situation that's impacting millions of women,
Right.
which really shouldn't be happening.
Right.
And it's like, if you disagree with this book, you're basically telling me you agree with abortion. And that's fine. You can have that viewpoint, but you can't force that viewpoint on other people. And that's just the way everything's going with books at the moment. If you write anything slightly sensitive, you just get lynched.
Right. I think people need to separate the artist a little bit from the subject, and people get in this tribal mentality where like everything you do is wrong without even hearing you out.
Yeah, so they hear like the title and they presume XYZ, and you're like, actually, that's nothing like what I've just done, but okay, keep bitching about it and keep sharing it because you're helping my pre-orders.
Well, that's true. Like every time that somebody makes a big deal out of something, it sells more. Like I
Yeah.
remember reading a thing about Motley Crue, and they released an album, and you know they're all like high on heroin or whatever, in some other country, you know, doing a concert, and they told Nikki Sixx, he says, "Well, what does the label say?" And it was that PMRC label that said warning, graphic violence and sex and whatever. He's like, "Put that on, put that on." And the minute they put it on, the album sold way more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what happened with my books back at the start. You know, I was quite early on. I adopted the trigger warnings on the covers. You know, warning: do not buy if you're sensitive to blah blah blah.
Right.
Um, and now every fucker does it because they see it now. A lot of people are using it as a marketing gimmick. Whereas originally, I didn't want to use it as a marketing gimmick. I just didn't want someone buying one of my books,
Right.
expecting a Stephen King horror, and suddenly finding a horror which has got really fucked up stuff in it. Not saying that Stephen King's doesn't, but he tends to scale it back a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
I like some portions of his writing, like his characterization of people and stuff. I think is really strong. But yeah, I think the worst thing is when you start doing something and then other people start doing it, and then they say you're copying those other people that actually copied you.
Yeah, you know what? I've had that for since day one. I did warnings and sudden. I can't remember the guy's name. He's disappeared now, thank God. But he released, so I released a range of black cover books by this point in my career.
Okay.
And suddenly this new author came up and he's copied my covers, but he's used a slightly different font. And I was like, are you taking the piss? And people were reviewing it poorly, saying that, it wasn't to their taste. And they were saying that I had lost my spark. And I'm like, hang on a minute, that's not me. They didn't even read the name. They just saw the cover, thought it was me, and bought it.
So horror was not your focus. Like it's not been. Where things like on the dark side your focus. Like
Uh,
progression of you starting a writing career started, but what were you into prior to that?
my when I was 12 years old, I wrote my first novel because my dad hurt himself, so I was stuck at home looking after him. Found their old typewriter, and I was just during the summer holidays. And the first book I wrote was a comedy book, and then I wrote a second one called Desmodus Rotundus, which is Latin for vampire bat, and that was like a black comedy. In fact, I rewrote that and called it Vampire's Treaty and released it under the name Mr. E Scares because I aimed it for the younger kids.
Okay.
And I wrote The Boy with the Golden Pen, again released under that other name because it's for kids. And I just like that kind of writing, but my kids' stuff doesn't take off, which is a shame because there's something about. I mean, I fucking hate children, but I love their imagination. So I'd love to carry on writing for the kids and making these really messed up, fun, not quite horror, but not normal, a bit like Roald Dahl. But yeah, it never took off. So occasionally I'll write another one just for me, but that's where I would like to be.
Does everything you do kind of have a dark premise, like kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a dim feeling to it?
Yeah, I've always gone for black comedy over anything else. I like the sick jokes.
Right.
So if you come up to me, like if you take a moment in history where it's a real tragedy, hundreds of people have died.
Right.
I love jokes based on that. But that sounds bad. Let me explain. The moment people start joking about that kind of thing in the right groups, obviously, it helps relieve some of the tension and stress you're feeling about that situation.
Right.
Because otherwise you just get stuck in the horror of the world. It's like take America, for example. When 9/11 happened, I was working in a bank and they sent us home. And because we were on a training course, we went to a bar because we were staying in a hotel. And we were all pretty upset by what we were watching because, the news programs just kept showing the footage over and over and over. And there was a group there who were laughing at it, not making jokes. They were happy it was happening. They were cheering. So whenever the footage came up, they were. Now, that played on my mind for weeks. Because I wanted to go and say something to this group of people, you shouldn't be doing this. If you feel like this, why are you here kind of thing, fuck off. But you can't. In this day and age, you can't say anything to anyone because it's going to escalate. Now, that played on my mind until the dark jokes started coming out about that situation. And then you sort of focus more on that and you take away from the tragedy kind of thing of it. But just having that moment of seeing it all, having these people being really disrespectful about it and laughing and just being cruel about the people that died, and then having that stuck in your head time, day in, day out, it's just not healthy. So I like to find humor in anything and everything. Now, I know a lot of the time it's not appropriate, so I won't say it out loud, but locked in my house, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't mean I'm not feeling bad for the people that have been impacted by it. I'm not being disrespectful to people by posting crap on social media. I'm keeping myself to myself, but I'm trying to keep things lighter. So yeah, dark humor is, I think, a lifesaver in some ways.
Why do you think those people were so happy? Was it anti-American sentiment? Was it, what?
Um, this is again dangerous territory. They were from another country, shall we say,
Okay.
and clearly their beliefs were in line with Al Qaeda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So again, I'm not saying everyone's like that, but in this situation, these were the people that were, Um, but again, if you go up to them and you say anything to them, then you're a racist.
Right.
You
No,
know,
I
you're
understand. America's done some horrible stuff in other countries. I would never debate that. But
no, yeah.
a lot of
We all have, our
innocent
countries.
people, they didn't deserve to die. There's one guy tattooed that was in the towers, and he has permanent PTSD because of that.
He was in the towers.
Yeah, he was in the towers. He made it. I forget what floor he's on, but he made it out. He made it down the elevators and out, like right before the tower crumbled. But some of the people, like he was pushing past people to get to the elevator.
Yeah.
Some of those people died, and like he has that in his memory. Like he feels like he killed them by pushing them out of the way because everybody was doing a mad scramble for the elevators. So,
Well, you would, wouldn't you? So
yeah,
survive. You want to survive, so you do what you can to survive, and it's just horrible situation to be in.
yeah, it's about
Um,
skilled. Yeah,
so like I say, when I use dark humor I use dark humor to try and not forget, but to try and dampen it down a little bit, because you take all this pain in the world, and if that's all you're concentrating, all you're reading on, it's going to swallow you up.
right. Have you heard of the comedian Anthony Jeselnik?
Nope.
He's basically he does dark humor, and he basically if tragedy happens, he even tells you he's like I try to make a joke on it so that it'll leave like it's a horrible thing, but maybe it'll like shift the focus away from it so people won't be as like affected by it.
Mm.
He did like with the Boston Marathon bombing right afterward. He tweeted, there are some races that just shouldn't be run. You know, he's like, there's some lines that you shouldn't be crossed, like the finish line. You know.
And that was straight after, was it?
Oh yeah, yeah. He like right after the Aurora the movie theater shooting. He
Yeah.
tweeted, he's like, other than that, how was the movie?
Oh. See, I think it's healthy to laugh. So because you're not, let's say, you're not taking away from what's happened, or you're not trying to put down the victims or anything. You can remember them, but we need to try and stay dark humor to just stop us all from drowning and getting swallowed up in it all, because otherwise we're just going to be consumed by the shit of this world.
Well, the people.
Admittedly, I wouldn't do it day after the event. That's good, especially on Twitter.
I think he did do it on Twitter.
He's got a death wish then.
Well, he's kind of made a career off doing that sort of stuff. Like people are like, "Oh, he's just the guy who does it." So, I think it's worked out.
9/11 happened, and I get my head up my ass. I get angry.
Right.
So I wrote. It was originally called Suicide Bummers, and it was about a white guy goes over to Afghanistan and joins the Al Qaeda, ISIS and all, whatever it was at the time, and he falls in love with a Muslim guy, and they're there basically touching each other's knobs, but it's the knobs of their detonators. And it was my fuck you to all the terrorist organizations. Now, I had to talk to Amazon because I started getting death threats over that. So we changed the title to Sex Bomb, an explosive love story. But I think the paperback's on Amazon. If you look it up, it's a picture of a guy doing a goat. And I just occasionally I just have to stand up and go, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to have my say. I think you're a piece of shit.
Right. Well, I think people get too wound up over stuff. Something might not be your taste. You might not like it, but you don't need to do this huge public outcry. I mean, I understand if it's like straight up racist or straight up sexist or something like that, but people get wound up over the smallest things these days.
Yeah, I mean, racism. I mean, don't get me wrong, racism is very real, but sometimes you listen to what someone says and this person's reaction to it, and you're like, well, fuck me. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It's
Right,
not like you use the word that we're not supposed to use.
right, right.
I mean, a bit of an overreaction. I can understand in some avenues because they've had it for years and years and years. So it's a sensitive thing. But even so, just chill.
Well, they're also like they're dragging people that 30 years ago they said something that at the time wasn't offensive.
Oh yeah.
Now it's been judged by social media to be offensive, and they're like, I know I've changed. Like in my 20s, I was an idiot.
So was I. I still am.
I didn't see anything racist, but the thing is, I was an idiot. There's stuff that I did in my 20s that I would not stand by now. You
Yeah, I
know,
mean Kevin Hart recently, well not recently, but he got in trouble because he said he'd disown his son if he chose to suck a dick.
right?
And the tweet was taken out of context, but still Kevin Hart came along and apologized. And she's just like, well,
I think he said he smashed a dollhouse over his head or something like that.
yeah, and
Chappelle makes a big joke about it.
I found it funny because I didn't take it the other way because I guess it doesn't affect me. So I didn't think of it from another person's point of view, shall we say. So I can understand, why people would be upset about it. But again, it was a tweet from years ago.
Yeah.
Are they just scrolling through everything, trying to find, like I used to when I was younger? I won't say the words. They're not racist or anything, but they're to do with idiots and things. As a schoolboy, that was the playground insult. But now we can't say that word.
Right.
And I'm like, hang on a minute, when did that word get, no, when was that?
Right.
And you just get so fucking confused. I still drop my foot in it and I say things all the time that are considered very wrong. And then someone says, you can't do that because of X, Y, Z. And I'm like, shit,
Well,
I
were
didn't
you
even
calling the
think
person
about that.
gay or calling them a faggot or something like that? Was that the offensive word?
No, the offensive word I used back at school was I'd call someone a mong if they were an idiot. And now apparently that is frowned upon.
I don't know
Um,
what that is. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, as you were growing up, you would turn around and you go, "You're gay."
Right.
Don't forget, I'm talking like you're 9 or 10 years old.
Right.
So is that kind of
So
age,
ever
the
since
age
high
where you
school, I've
don't
had
know.
friends. I have absolutely nothing against somebody who's homosexual. But
No, I don't. But then you grow up and suddenly you've got to be very careful because of all the words you're using as a schoolboy
right.
are offensive to
Right.
certain groups. So you're like, well, fuck, I don't want to offend these people.
Right.
And it's just everything's a minefield now.
Right. Well, I love how British people say the word cunt. Like that's super offensive here in the U.S. People from Britain say it all the time.
Yeah, when I do conventions in America quite a lot, and by the time I leave, you Americans are normally calling me a cunt because you all pick it up from me. Because I won't change. I've only ever said it out in America. I've said it to a woman, and I meant it as the most offensive words I could think of.
Right.
She was a cunt. I wanted her to know she was one. But
She's-
normally,
I don't know if you heard that word before, Karen.
she was a fucking piece of shit. This woman. I got to Chicago. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm doing a convention. I'm at the convention. Here's my books. I come out. I can see my hotel. It's across the road.
Okay.
But I can't see how to cross the road because jaywalking is illegal in America.
Right. It's not
So
really
just,
enforced, by the way.
sorry, what was that?
It's not really enforced. Like I live in
Yeah.
New York, people just walk out in the middle of traffic. They don't care.
Yeah, my brother's got in trouble with it once in all the times we've been over, and that was in Vegas.
Okay.
But there was a woman there, and I said, "Excuse me, there's my hotel. How do I get to it?" And
Right.
she just looked me up and down. She's like, and walked away. I was like, wow, you are some sort of cunt. Because I was jet lagged, I was grumpy. She carried on walking, probably just as well. I didn't get shot. But yeah, normally when in America, I say it all the time because I'm English. We use it as a term of endearment. I'd go up to you and go, right, cunt, how's it going? And you'd say it back. That's how we greet each other.
Right.
But yeah, you guys over there, you don't like that word.
Well, I wouldn't say you guys. Like, I don't care. I think it's hysterical. But yeah, a lot of people, they take it like super offensive. But
Do you say it or do you avoid saying it?
it's not. It's just not part of my lexicon, really. It's
Yeah.
like I just don't. I mean, there are probably other things that I say that are pretty common. But
I think what I've noticed with Americans is you use motherfucker quite a lot.
yes, yes,
We don't really use that in England.
okay.
No, we just stick with the four letters. Quicker.
Right. Well, it's kind of like, especially because I live in New York. Like, I've lived all over the country, so it kind of depends on where you live. But in New York, everybody loves to bust everybody's balls. So, like, I remember when I worked a restaurant job like 22 years ago, and a lot of the people on the line cook, because I was a server, and a lot of people on the line cook were Mexican. So I learned Spanish so I could say motherfucker in Spanish. But it was like we just joke around like that.
Yeah, I just went to Africa, so I learned "Yo massa poos,"
Yeah, what does that mean?
your mother's cunt. I'm going to New York in a few months for a meet and greet, so we'll see how the C word works over there.
Right. Well, New York has gone through a lot of changes. Like, I remember when I first moved here, it was still kind of gritty, and then it got really like polished, like very like Disneyfied. Like, Times Square wasn't Taxi Driver anymore, and now it was like ESPN Zone and stuff like that. And then with all the lockdowns and the George Floyd riots and all that, I hear it kind of got like the Mad Max Wild West again, like crime soaring.
Brilliant. Can't wait.
You're in for it.
You know what? I'll just stay in a fucking hotel. I'm only there for 3 days. I fly in, I do a meet and greet with the readers for 3 days where I just said, look, whoever buys this special release book, come get it in New York if you're local, and we'll hang out and do touristy shit together.
Okay.
And then I'm going to fly from there to Ohio and Cleveland and do the same again for 3 days. And then I'm flying home again. So
right.
If I survive New York.
Be and what the dates are?
Around September the 6th, I think, off the top of my head.
Okay.
And then on the 9th, I fly into Cleveland.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think you've talked to him, but Aaron Beauregard?
Yes.
Yeah, he's coming to New York because we co-wrote a book together. So we're going to be signing that there together.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. No, he's a nice guy. I just interviewed him.
Yeah, he's a laugh. Funny enough, I've just been talking to him.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have a venue that's already registered and reserved for this?
Nah, don't need one. Just going to rock up. I've got a hotel on Times Square, so I'm just going to say to people, come find me in the bar.
With the way New York's going, who knows?
Well, we'll see. I don't think many people are coming to New York, but there's quite a lot coming to Cleveland because that was the main place where everyone could get to.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. If it doesn't work, I'll never offer it again. I just thought it'd be something fun and different to do.
Well, New York itself is massive. Like, it has the whole tri-borough around it, so you have a ton of people that can make it there if they want to. Like, public transportation is really good. So, if you advertise a little bit, hopefully a lot of people will attend. Because there's a sizable audience there.
We'll see what happens. I did New Jersey, and I had a lot of people come to New Jersey. And then I vowed never to go back to New Jersey because
I don't blame
that's a place.
Yeah, I don't like New Jersey either. But okay, so right now you're not just focusing on the films, you're also writing and everything else? Like, do you enjoy all that stuff as well?
Yeah, I enjoy writing. I burn myself out quite quickly with writing. Like that Roe v. Wade book I wrote. I just knocked that out in 3 days flat. But that's 14 hours a day sitting at a computer.
Right.
And then normally what I do is I'll jump straight into a short story after that, then another novella. And then I'll keep going until my mental health collapses around me. Then I just sit in a mess for a week or two and then pick myself back up and off I go again.
So how long is Roe v. Wade? Like the book?
Um, 25,000 words, so it's only a novella.
Okay. Is there something you prefer, like short stories over novellas, novellas over novels?
Well, I have ADHD, so I prefer novellas and short stories because I can write a really tight, confined story
Okay.
and then move on. If I was like Stephen King, I think I'd blow my brains out because his books are hundreds of pages. I'd be like, I've lost the will to live, and I'm not even a quarter of the way
I'm
through.
still wordy too. It's a struggle for me to make it through it. Like his earlier stuff, like where he's more refined ideas, I like it. But his later stuff, I just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not dissing him at all. The guy is clearly extremely fucking talented, the bastard. But I struggle. Like I say, I start reading it, and then my mind goes off to somewhere else, and then I pick up a different book, and then I think, oh, actually, I'll put this down and learn to play the guitar. And it's just
Yeah, no, I think he's underrated. I think he has done a lot. Like he'll talk about how his writing is the equivalent of Big Mac and fries. I'm like, you're kind of underselling yourself there.
his writing's like, no, no, no. I'm the McDonald's author. He's he's a fancy steak restaurant author. You
It's,
get the good stuff there. You get the cheap stuff with me, but it satisfies you while you're eating it.
all right, so where are you hoping this will progress? Like, where are you hoping it goes more into you making movies? Do you enjoy the bookmaking process?
You know what? I'll probably carry on doing both for the time being. I would like the bigger picture to win the lottery and then quit everything. But I think I would like to lean more towards the films because it's a whole different process. So, you've got the writing, the directing, the acting. I'm doing camera work now whenever we need an extra camera. So there's more to it. With the writing, it's just me sitting at a computer by myself for 12, 13 hours a day, 5 days a week. And
But
it gets pretty monotonous.
do you think like listen to music, everything going on in the background? Do you try like to silently concentrate on stuff? What's the process?
Uh, People say this is bullshit, but it's because they're too thick to understand it. But when I'm writing, I can feel what side of my brain is doing the writing. It's like if you think about a question. So if I ask you, what color are your own eyes? Instead of saying it out loud and you think about that question, you can normally feel a side of the brain that the question is asked on.
Okay.
Then you can feel what side the question is answered on. So for me, my left hand side of my brain, I can hear it, as weird as it sounds. So that's my busy side of the brain. So I do my writing on my left hand side. And I normally have my right hand side focused on the television. But if the story gets really complicated, then I have to pause the television and focus everything on the writing.
Okay, so you do have the television on while you're writing?
Yeah, and because this side of the brain is concentrating on what's on TV, this side of the brain is writing the story and the characters and everything.
No, I
But then when it gets complicated and you can't focus on two things, then you've got to pause it
okay.
and then focus entirely on either the film or the writing, whichever got your attention.
Right. I'm a little bit OCD, so I need absolute silence when I write. I also take a whole bunch of notes, so I can reread them and double check and see if I included that thing that I thought was a great idea or something like that. What's your process?
I sit and I write. It's rare that I'll take notes first. What I'm doing is I normally think of the ending first,
Okay.
and then I'll go away. Then I'll think of the beginning, and the middle part I let the characters write. So when I'm writing the story and the characters are taking it in whatever direction, I'll write quick bullet points of what I have to write down next time I sit at the computer, when my brain is in the zone. Because I found if you write and you just do, say, a page or two, then you think, oh, I'll put it down, I'll come back tomorrow. Without bullet points there, you don't really know what you're writing the next day.
Right.
And straight away, you kind of fuck yourself over because you spend more time thinking about what to write than actually writing. So it's kind of my way of beating writer's block.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of my favorite authors, Alan Moore, does this sort of same thing. Like, he actually sketches stuff out, and he'll have whole stories
That's cool.
about where he's going to go. But
and then he could sell those afterwards as well.
Yeah,
well,
Alan Moore's the guy who wrote Watchmen. He wrote. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but yeah, I like Neil Gaiman a lot, but I'm not really familiar with his process. But
no, I've not actually read his stuff. It's weird because I did a Netflix documentary just before lockdown, and I had to wait in a green room. So I had to go up to London, and I was sitting in a green room, just thinking, "Fucking hell, how long are they going to be?" And then the door opened, the producer came in. He's with Neil Gaiman. Right. And he's like, we just finished interviewing Neil, and they introduced us. And I don't know why, considering I've never read his stuff, but the guy fucking intimidated me. I was just like, I really feel quite uncomfortable in his presence. And that's not saying he's a horrible person. It's just how I felt inside. Right. Because we talked for 2 seconds and he was super polite and then he went away. But I was just like, I feel this big at the moment.
Well, I met him first in the late 80s when he was at a comic book store, and I was trying to get in the comic book industry, and he was doing Sandman. And I remember he was super, super nice. But that's probably before he blew up. They were making TV shows based off his novels and stuff like that.
But no, he still is. In the time that I had to talk to him, he is still super nice. It's just I felt really small. And I felt intimidated by him. There's nothing to do with what he was doing. I was just like, get over yourself.
There's more of an aura around him now. I'm not saying.
Yeah. I was just thinking, fucking hell. I didn't even feel that when I met Joe Hill. I was just like, yeah, whatever. But with Neil Gaiman, I was just like,
he's really nice as well.
He is, but I didn't feel that intimidated. I was just like, hey, Joe, how's it going? Nice to meet you. I'm Matt. I didn't even bother with the surname because it's not like he'll know me.
But I'm sure he would say, "Oh, cool, man!" He would at least
he'll pretend.
Yeah. So going forward, is there stuff that you're looking at that you can't wait for movies to come out or books to come out or something along those lines?
What, of my work or anything?
Both.
I film wise of not my work, I really fucking want that film Pearl to come out now.
Okay, what is it?
It's called Pearl. It's the prequel to a film called X.
Okay.
Which, if you haven't seen it, just watch it. It's a great film. Came out earlier this year or late last year. I can't remember. But of my films, we are in pre-production. We start shooting. Well, we carry on shooting in August of a film called GPK, which stands for GoPro Killers.
Okay.
We filmed it. We're filming it entirely through GoPros attached to the people's heads.
Okay.
Because they're part of a government game where you apply for this show, you go into a kill room with a person you hate, and you get to kill them however you see fit. The only rules are they wear a GoPro and you wear a GoPro, and the footage is streamed to the audience at home. The problem is we filmed some of it already, and we already know there's no streaming site where we can show it. It literally starts off with a woman fucking a guy up the arse with a strap on covered in barbed wire. And there's blood just pumping out of his butthole. And you've got a woman snaps a guy's penis clean off.
Yeah.
And she got a liter of blood in the face. And you're like, we can't show this. Even we've already filmed it, but after the credits, one of my readers said she would do this for us. And she did, bless her. She's naked. She bends over opens up her arsehole, looks back to the camera and says, bye. So we're like, fuck it, let's put it after the credits, just as a why not? Let's see
have,
how bad we can make it.
have you seen the series The Boys?
No. Oh, The Boys. Yeah.
Yeah,
I watched the first season. I haven't finished the others yet.
it's brilliant, brilliant. But you would be surprised at what he can get away with. I mean, it is Garth Ennis, so maybe he has like more pull. But like, he has one scene where it's like these guys are they're lovers, and one is a soup, and like he shrinks down like Ant Man, crawls inside of his dick, and they show his dick, and they show him crawling inside of the dick, and then and all of a sudden he blows up to full size, and splatters his boyfriend everywhere. It's like, but they show all this on TV. So
See,
yeah, if
that's a sign of the times, though.
you get away with a lot.
Yeah, it's a sign of the times. I mean, you've got two guys straight away.
Right.
Years ago, that would have been like, oh, can't show that. And now climbing up penises as well. I mean, you just sold the show to me. I'll be honest.
It's
Now
over.
I'm interested.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah, you should definitely watch it. Like when I watch it, I'm like, I can't believe they got away with this. But it's good storytelling, so I'm involved.
Oh, I can't promise we got that with GPK, but we've got the blood. Who gives a fuck?
All right, well, we'll wrap this up. I don't want to keep you here all day. How can people look at your projects and they can get a hold of you?
Honestly, your best bet is Facebook. I use Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, but it just confuses the shit out of me because I'm old now. So if you just put in Matt Shaw Publications on Facebook, you'll find my author page, and I'm there daily. And then people tend to reach out. And also, I'll just drop a quick little plug here, but if people are looking at wanting to start writing, last month I started doing writing classes for people to help other people get published now, because I figured I've been doing it for full time for over 10 years, so I might as well teach others how to do it as well.
Have you found some like diamonds in the rough? Some people that have applied and they talk to you and they're like, "That guy is really talented," or "That girl is really talented."
I mean, to be fair, all of the people that I'm talking to at the moment, because I only take on X amount at one time because it's weekly lessons and I don't want to get bogged down. They've all got potential in various aspects, but there's one guy who's really stressing me out because he's got such bad fucking confidence issues. But the stuff that he's actually writing, there's tweaking that needs to be done, but I really like it.
Okay.
And I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do in the future. And I tell him this every fucking week. I'm like, get out of your head. Stop doubting yourself, because you're only making it harder on yourself. Give us his fucking goodies.
You're right.
He's just give you an idea. He's writing a short story for me at the moment, and it's called Dirty Cunt. And it's just about a vagina that eats people. And I think it's fucking brilliant. It's stupid. And he's like, oh, is it a bit too silly? I was like, mate, splatterpunk, extreme horror. People will love this.
Is it attached to a person, or it's just like a random vagina?
Oh, it's attached to a person, but that's as far as I'll go with that. Because that's the one I'm going to help him publish as his first story. So we're on lesson 4, I think. And it's blocks of 8. So by the time we get to lesson 8, hopefully we'll be publishing that one for people. Because it is a good story.
A movie about like a killer vagina or vagina with teeth or something.
There's one with teeth in it, yeah. And as soon as he started going down that route, I was like, oh, is it going to be the same? But no, it's completely different.
Okay, awesome.
Like, sweet.
So how could they check that stuff out?
Well, they can't find the other people's work yet. But as soon as the other people's work is published, I'll be sharing it on my author page.
Okay.
Introducing, my readers to a potential new author.
Okay, awesome.
See what happens for them. I've told them if any of them become millionaires through this, because my rates are quite cheap. Right. Yeah, they owe me some money,
So if you totally made a bunch of money off of something, is there anything that you would keep doing, or is most of what you're doing right now because you have to pay the rent?
No, I think I'd keep doing it because I've recently only been diagnosed with ADHD, but it explains so much in my life and how miserable I get when I'm not working and things. I think if I won millions, and
Right.
fingers crossed for the lottery tonight, um, I I I think I would go fucking mental if I stopped work.
Yeah.
My brain, it just keeps going, so I have to keep going, and if it doesn't, I get really aggressive with it.
Right.
So no, I think I'll carry it all on. Maybe not the classes,
Right.
because sometimes I do think, oh, for fuck's sake. They're all right once you're doing it, but it's coming up to 8 o'clock in the evening, film on the television. You just think, oh, fucking hell.
Well, after you teach some people, you've kind of like you've done it before. You've gone over that hurdle. You don't need to keep doing it all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I own a tattoo shop and we apprentice people. It's like I don't need to apprentice people into my 70s. I'm still apprenticing people. It just I'm glad I put some talent out there, and that's it.
Yeah, it's nice to start off with. You feel like you're doing something, and it's interesting to see what they bring to the table as well.
Right.
But other times you're like, I just want to go off and tattoo people. I don't want to be teaching more tattooists.
Yeah. No. So if people want to get a hold of you to like sharpen their author skills, would that also be on Facebook?
Yeah, just on Matt Shaw Publications. You can't miss it. That's the best bet. I mean, you can reach out via Twitter, Instagram. I think on all of those, I'm the Matt Shaw, because every time I do conventions, people come up to me and go, "Hey, Matt Shaw, that's my name." Don't give a fuck, mate. Fuck off, you dickhead. I had someone come up to me in a supermarket and they're like, "Matt Shaw." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I read your books." "Oh, okay, cool, thanks." And then you have a bit of a chat. But for a minute, I'm like, I've got no fucking clue. I'm please don't let me know this person, because I got no idea who they are.
Well, I really appreciate when people like introduce. Oh, hey, my name is Dylan.
Yes, yes.
Remember you might not remember, but you tattooed me years ago, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And then you can have a nice conversation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that as well. When they come up and they just expect you to know, I'm like, nope. I don't even know mum's name sometimes, I mean,
Well, I don't know my parents' birthdays, but then again, I don't get along with them, so there is that.
helps. Yeah.
But all right, so let's wrap this up. Thank you very much, Matt, for doing this.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.